Yo guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're not already, subscribe to Off the Canvas Boxing and like this video, guys. Exercise those thumbs, okay? Otherwise your thumbs are going to be like proper like stiff and them things there. You know, we don't want stiff thumbs, you know, we kind of want like loose thumbs. Or if you do boxing or if you're kind of picking up stuff, you know, that pause. But if you like the video, okay guys, it helps out a lot. And we're going to do a reaction video to Rocky Marciano. If you guys have any other suggestions in regards to just reactions, let me know in the comment section below. Without further ado, let's get cracking. Rainy Day Boxing presents. Big up Rainy Day Boxing.
Rocky Marciano.
Okay.
Kind of remind me of The Rock, you know that? You move like him, and you got heart like he did.
The underdog story of Rocky Balboa. A perfect encapsulation of the heart and spirit that the non-fictional Rocky displayed in real life. A fighter with an unmatched tolerance for pain, who endured more agony in just 2 of his fights than most boxers do in their entire career. He welcomed pain, but was frightened of defeat. His record speaks for itself. He was a man who refused to accept defeat 49 times. Rainy Day Boxing brings you Rocky Marciano, a boxing legend.
Let's go.
He was an unstoppable force in the heavyweight division, always coming forward, always.
Sorry guys, Rainy Day Productions, your beats, it bangs. I'm sorry. I watched a Jack Johnson video, yeah, and the beats were A1. Oh, yo, whoever's doing this thing, I'm gonna hit them up, yeah, and thank them for the beats. Sorry, just had to put that one in.
He's pressing and pounding his opponent.
You have to rate Rocky as one of the all-time greats because of his longevity and his record.
If you could pick any heavyweight champion in history, who do you think would have given you the toughest fight of them?
The toughest fight would be the man who's the hardest to knock out. A fellow who had no style, just a bull, was Rocky Marciano. He would be the most trouble, I think.
And still the heavyweight champion of the whole world, Rocky Marciano. And still the heavyweight champion of the whole world, Rocky Marciano.
Hey, yo, I'm hitting them up. I don't care, bro. These lot are sick. Sorry.
Born on the 1st of September 1923
Eli
in
Harris.
the small town of Brockton, Massachusetts.
You're my boy.
Rocky was raised in a blue-collar household by poor Italian immigrant parents. The seeds of determination were sown into the young Marciano as he watched his overworked father struggle tirelessly at a shoe manufacturing company. Rocky determined that one day he'd make the American dream a reality for his family. In 1943, Rocky was drafted into the Army, and like many young soldiers, Marciano joined the service's boxing program. While Rocky was an all-around athlete in his youth, he had never excelled in one sport. But once the war was over, his newfound passion of boxing offered a realistic path to the life he always dreamed of.
When baby Rocco was just 1 year old, he contracted pneumonia. The thought at that point was, will young Rocky survive it all? In fact, the doctor who was attending to him said if this baby does survive, he's going to do it on spirit alone. And that became the hallmark of Rocky Marciano's career.
And growing up in Brockton, he really believed in coming from poverty to success.
He used to get very upset when he used to see my dad working at such a tough job. He promised my dad one day, he said, "Dad, not before too long, I'll retire you."
But unlike many of the stories of a fighter showing an immediate aptitude for the sport, Marciano's introduction to boxing was a less than promising start. It seemed nature had blessed Rocky with a physique that was perfectly designed to be disadvantaged in the ring. He stood 5 feet 10 inches tall with a measly 67-inch reach and fists smaller than every heavyweight champion in history. He was a clumsy prospect with 2 left feet that most trainers would not have had the patience to work with. But trainer Charlie Goldman could see Marciano's advantages that couldn't be listed with numbers and fighting qualities that were not visible from the outside.
He could not be described as graceful. Even his trainer Charlie Goldman refused to conceal the obvious. He was one of the clumsiest fellows I ever saw in the ring.
Even when he began training, stepped on his own feet and would knock himself down.
He had to overcome nature's limitations. One critic described Marciano as too short to seriously challenge mediocre heavyweights, let alone to be a contender for the world title.
And here comes this little guy, looks like a fire plug, from Brockton, Massachusetts. All the smart sports writers say, guy's a Neanderthal type. He can't fight, he can't do anything. He keeps knocking everybody out.
Marciano was small for a heavyweight, even by the standards of those earlier times. But he fought with a will of iron, built upon the most dedicated training regimen boxing has ever known.
He was dedicated. I don't think anybody ever worked harder than Rocky.
Far more than most professional boxers, Marciano is a guy who likes to train. An unusual feature of Marciano's training routine is batting this giant-sized bag. It weighs 270 pounds, about 4 times heavier than the ordinary type, and it was designed and made especially for him.
Wow.
Under the careful eye of trainer Charlie Goldman, Marciano has developed into a first-class fighting man. After sparring 225 rounds in training camp, he definitely appears to be in tip-top shape.
Despite his somewhat rugged technique, when it came to trading blows with Marciano over 15 rounds, skills were never what paid the bills. In the ring, Rocky was both an immovable object and unstoppable force. Appropriately nicknamed The Rock, Marciano had fists of stone and the finesse of a boulder. There was no subtlety or style hidden in the madness he displayed. In the ring, he was a man obsessed with victory. His opponents would face an onslaught that was fueled by the roars of the crowd. Roland Lastarza needed surgery on his arm after the nerve damage that was done by Marciano's pounding. And whilst Rocky rained blows on his foes, any attempt they made to return fire upon him only served to create openings for Marciano and further seal their fate.
Yo, story time, yeah? I know somebody exactly the same as this guy. Almost identical in terms of when he said if you open up and you try to attack it, he would try to attack you for more. Literally a friend of mine who used to train me as well. He was like, in terms of just hands of like stone, he had those. The way he punched it, it just was painful. Every punch was just painful. Okay, and as soon as you kind of opened up, or you kind of just like you try counter punch him, you try kind of slip to one side, or you do anything to get the edge up on him, nothing helped. He would literally hit. One time he hit me, yeah, like an overhand right, and he hit me like right on my chest, and I'll just hit the mic, but right off of my chest, yeah. And there is supposed to be supposed to be conditions, it's not really supposed to hurt as much as your jawline, but that, I felt like I was winded. Like, man hit me on the top of my chest and I felt winded. Yo, like, it was mad. One time, like, we accidentally clashed heads, and like I was gone, like I was just all over the place, and he was still like ready to go. Like, it was a mad circumstance. Like, so I know exactly the guy that when you're talking about Brock Marciano. The guy had good footwork though, but it is a very similar circumstance.
This man could fight. He would swarm all over you just throwing punches. He'd hit you anywhere. Hit you in the arms. Hit you on your soles of your feet if he could.
That's what I'm saying. Yo, that's what I'm saying.
He only knew one way to fight, and that's to come forward and throw murderous punches for 15 rounds until the opponent went down.
I'm going after him, and I'm not going to stop until the bell rings.
A final devastating combination, and Charles dropped to the canvas one more time.
Marciano, The Rock, was the most vicious fighter of my time.
Ooh, he hit hard. I did a computer fight with him. When he was old man just pretending, and my arms are sore just from joking with him.
There it is, and down goes Matthews.
The energy of Marciano's punch was equivalent to an armor-piercing shell.
Marciano's hitting him in all kinds of unorthodox spots.
And Joe was covering up, and he was really taking a lot of pain. He told me about that. He said, this man, he hit you on the arms, and it hurt my arms so bad. That's the power of Marciano.
Nothing seems to stop Marciano as he continues his relentless attack. Oh, his legs are gone. He's down again.
One of Rex Lane's friends described Marciano's knockout punch as shearing Lane's front teeth off at the nubs. Charles, his voice reduced to a whisper from a Marciano punch to the Adam's apple, Savold was hospitalized overnight because his teeth had been smashed into his gums. Lastarza suffered bone damage and broken vessels in his arms.
Lastarza goes soaring through the rope. And Rocky waves are right on high. Marciano could probably go another 15 or 20 if he had to.
The word fear wasn't in
Hey, look at his
Marciano's
scenario,
vocabulary,
like,
and
come on, you
pain
can't chat
had
to
no
that.
meaning to him. But victory was never easily achieved for Rocky. Cuts over his eyes and inside his mouth were all par for the course of a Marciano fight. His battles were not for the faint of heart. Every fight for Rocky was a night of pain and a test of his toughness. Whatever his opponents gave him, he'd take it and return it tenfold. Marciano had no concept of retreat, and he had only one response to adversity, and that was war.
Rocky Marciano was one of the toughest men ever to fight.
He liked the sport. He liked getting hit and he liked hitting. Punches didn't seem to bother him. He just kept coming on. It looked like he was made of stone, man.
Marciano got to me by just sheer bulldogging and ruggedness and continuously grinding. And I mean, I hit Marciano some shots that would have taken the head off the average guy, but he kept piling up on top of me, and then finally Marciano beat me down.
There he goes. In his own corner.
Marciano had one simple idea in mind: to trade punches and test who could take and give more pain.
He had suffered probably the most bodacious cut in the history of boxing. I mean, this was a split right down his nose. He feels, as he later relates it, that he's breathing not through his nostrils, but out through the sides of his nose.
In the champion's corner before the 8th round, trainer Charlie Goldman had told Rocky to get him now or you'll bleed to death.
All right, then, be on this guy every step of the way. You can't let him relax. This guy has got to go.
Marciano again turned imminent defeat into a stunning triumph.
Marciano's eye and nose are badly cut, but his mean, hard punches are definitely weakening the challenger. Down he goes!
Marciano spent the majority of his career as a prospect, bruising and battering his way up the ranks. But to be seen as a contender, the young heir apparent had to take on an aging legend. In 1951, Rocky was matched up against the greatest champion boxing fans had ever seen, Joe Louis. The Brown Bomber was well past his best, but he was still a formidable puncher who struck fear into Marciano. The mantle had to be passed on, and it was Rocky's time to prove his worth as a fighter.
Well, boxing fans, wherever you may be, I'm in good shape for this fight, and I hope I come through all right.
Hold it there, Rocky. This is the biggest chance of my life. Now let's do it right. I gotta set this guy up and really do the job.
Rocky's crowding leaves little room for Louis to punch. Rocky gets in a solid, winging right to the head. You can see that Louis feels those punches. Rocky's really pouring it on.
And Marciano really is just the opposite of Joe Louis. Louis would pick his shots when trying to finish his man. Marciano seems to try to throw as many punches as hard as he can, as long as he can.
Good, solid overhand right by Marciano.
I've got to get at him, wear him down. Let me loose so I can throw that right.
Marciano likes to pin his man back, then go to work on the head and body.
Marciano just as strong as ever.
Okay.
Bull-like in his rushes. A solid left, and down goes Louis.
Wow, big Joe Louis, you know.
Marciano pitching with everything he's got. Backs his man to the rope to finish him off. Now watch. A left, another left crumples Louis. A blazing right, and Louis sails through the ropes.
Joe Louis said, he doesn't really fight by the book, but I got hit by a library tonight.
It was the end of one era and the beginning of another.
What a quote.
So Rocky Marciano emerged the top-ranking contender for the heavyweight crown.
In 1952, the heavyweight champion at the time, Jersey Joe Walcott, was perhaps the slickest of all the heavyweight champions in history, and the complete opposite of the crude and sluggish Marciano. The public was begging to see the contrasting matchup of the youthful and ferocious Rocky against the experienced and crafty Walcott.
Rocky was ready for the title, but Jersey Joe Walcott was not willing to comply.
Walcott said before this fight, if I can't beat this bum, take my name off the record books. I guess he can punch a bit, but he can't box. I've never seen anyone easier to hit.
Walcott was an aging but classy champion, but many believed Marciano, at 29, was too young, too strong, and too hungry for the champion. 4 more victories, all by knockout, set Marciano up for a tilt at Jersey Joe Walcott's world title in September 1952.
Jersey Joe Walcott finally gave Rocky his chance, and Rocky's dedication really paid off. In his training camp, Rocky boxed 85 rounds, the champion's 30, and he needed every bit of that training.
Walcott hurt him with the left and knocked him down in the first round, and he was being outpointed badly.
Every punch, he lifted Rocky off the canvas. I don't think any living human could take the punishment that Rocky took that night.
Walcott was crafty and used all of his skills, but the Brockton blockbuster threw punches that could have knocked the building down.
Marciano's been staggered time and time again, but he is full like strong.
Marciano survived the torrent of vicious shots from Jersey Joe. Then, from the 7th through 10th rounds, Marciano was fighting with his left eye nearly closed.
There's a cut now under Rocky's right eye, and his nose is bleeding again.
Marciano and Walcott here fighting like gladiators, neither one giving an inch.
Walcott was a mile ahead. It didn't make any difference. You could never take away his heart. You say it didn't matter what you did to him.
And in the 11th and 12th rounds, he gave Rocky such a beating, I didn't think Rocky could continue. And yet you saw Rocky come out for that 13th round full of pep.
By the end of the 12th round, the Brockton Blockbusters title bid seemed out for the count. But then one destructive blow changed the course of heavyweight history.
Walcott is back to the rope. Takes it right to the jaw. Walcott is hopeless on the rope. It may be a knockout. I don't think Walcott can get up. It's going to be a knockout.
Wow, what a knockout. We can't hack it. He's gone. And no mess.
Here we see both of them about to throw right hands, but Rocky just beat him to the punch. And down goes Jersey Joe Walcott. And we have a new champion.
Rocky was not only the pride of Brockton, but was now embraced as a hero throughout the country. As a champion, he was shown a love very few fighters have ever received. To the Italian-American people, he was everything they wanted him to be and everything they wanted to be. Even the Mafia respected the fact that Marciano was the positive image that Italian-Americans needed at that time, so they steered clear of him. Rocky was a man unchanged by fame, and he felt it was his duty to represent the heavyweight title with honor.
He was greeted by a parade lining the streets of Brockton to pay tribute to their native son.
Yo, we need to do that in boxing, you know, nowadays. Like, there's no parade when somebody wins a huge bout. Like, this should be a huge parade for Josh Taylor when he won against Jose Ramirez in Glasgow. You know, they should be like, as soon as he gets to the airport, just parades of people. But right now, it's not like that, man. I don't know why, but I think parades are like big things now. I think they should do it.
Marciano's fans were legion. They shouted his name. They praised him.
Marciano took enormous pride in the fact that he was a role model for kids. Stories of him signing autographs. He would always try to pick out the ones that were shy.
Became champion of the world. He never changed. He was always the same. Great guy.
And what he ended up being was a blue-collar champion. The little people loved him.
And if you wanted to be anybody at all, you would want to be a Rocky Marciano.
He was the guy.
Rocky was a contemporary hero with the traditional values of a simple man who remembered his past.
Greatest desire came true when he walked into the factory one day and he said, "Dad, that's it. I don't want you to work anymore. You're retired."
Rocky, this is 49 straight, and I know you're going to go for that golden 50 for sure because you never look better.
I would like to announce my retirement from boxing at this time.
Okay.
Marciano would only defend his title 6 times after beating Walcott, before surprisingly announcing his early retirement from boxing at the age of 32. Learning from his idol Joe Louis's mistakes, Rocky decided to quit while he was at the top. It was thought by many that this premature retirement wouldn't last, but Marciano kept his word. Rocky never had the opportunity to fight another great fighter in their prime because of the era he fought in. But a fighter's legacy cannot be diminished if he defeated all the opposition of his time. Despite the opponents that were available to him, the record books will always show that Rocky had 49 bouts, 49 victories, and that he retired undefeated.
He was a slugger who many said was too short and too light to contend with real heavyweights. But he did more than contend. He became the only heavyweight champion of the world to retire undefeated.
Marciano was the ultimate example to those who are told they can't, to those who are told they're too short or not athletic enough. An unlikely specimen for a fighter who was truly a case of substance over style. At his core, Marciano was a man of courage, compassion, and humility. He was everything a hero ought to be. And while his reign was brief, the name Rocky Marciano is cemented into boxing's history book and has become legend for all time.
49 fights,
Absolutely.
43 knockouts, 49 wins. The man was awesome.
You never saw him lost. You saw him on the brink of destruction, and that's what makes a great champion, when they're on the brink of destruction and they come back.
Rocky fought the guys they put in front of him. That's what any fighter could do. Everyone they put in front of him, he knocked out.
destroyed. I can compare him to a street fighter with a huge heart, and he never lost.
Yeah.
He wasn't as great as me, wasn't as beautiful, everybody know that, but I don't know if I would have beaten him in his style and my style. He could have outpointed me, he could have knocked me down, could have beat me. In his heyday, he may have won.
Ali called Rocky
That's true.
champ, never Rocky
That's
or
true.
Mr. Marciano. It was the ultimate sign of respect Ali could show Rocky.
And when they say the word champ, there's only one meaning to it, Rocky Marciano.
Just remember, keep your left hand high, chin down, and keep punching.
If you enjoyed this video,
What a video. Yo, big up Eli Harris, or Eli Harris, whatever, how you pronounce the name. This has been a great video, okay? I want to do more rated boxes, okay? If you guys have more suggestions, let me know, okay? But thank you for watching this video. Peace, love, and prosperity, guys, and I'm gonna see you guys in a bit. Peace.